So right here, you can see the sign coming up. Right there, it says the Courtyard Marriott. This is the Courtyard Marriott Deerfield. And so I work for the Courtyard Marriott Highland Park. And then there's a Courtyard Marriott on the corner of Wilmot Road and Deerfield Road, but it's in Corporate Park there. It's hid back, and it's a Marriott Hotel. I think it's a Marriott Suites. So us three properties, and this wasn't something that's formal within the Marriott, but say somebody came to a walk-in, came to check in Highland Park, and we didn't have any rooms, which happens sometimes, and we'd be like, that's okay, we can accommodate you. And we call down to the Deerfield Courtyard and ask them, do you have any rooms available? And they say yes. And I'm like, okay, so the Deerfield Courtyard right down the street can accommodate you. A lot of times they came from the airport and that, and we said, no problem, we'll give you a ride over in our shuttle, because we have a shuttle van. As you see, the shuttle van right here at the Courtyard too. There's the shuttle van. All the Courtyards have vans. Now, that's a good contract to get, selling vans to the Courtyards, because all the Courtyards have shuttle vans. I don't know about the hotels. I only know the Courtyards. Now, there's a Residence Inn in here, Marriott Residence Inn, and that's more long-term stay where they have a kitchen and everything. But we would call down and say, do you have any rooms? And if they said no, then we would call over to the Marriott Suites and ask them, do you have any accommodations? And they say yes. And we say, well, we're sending over a guest. And blank, 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 and reserve a room for Mr. Jones. And they would do the same to us. So when you say we're out of rooms, that's not what we said to people. We will find you a room at another Marriott within this area. And so we would call around for them. We never sent a customer away. Oh, we're full. They do that all the time in Vegas. Sorry, we don't have any rooms in the hotel. And I'm talking Caesars Group in Vegas. And you go up and you're like, sorry, we don't have any rooms available. And you're like, you don't? No. Okay. Well, the Caesar Group owns multiple hotels besides Caesars. And they'd be like, oh, that's no problem. We'll put you up at another property. Let me check at our inventory. Now, this can be in a POS system, and they can have it at the Marriott Highland Park and Courtyard and that. And you just log into switch over the system, switch to inventory of nearby Marriott properties. And would you like to stay at another Courtyard? We do have the Marriott Suite. We have the Marriott Residence Inn. And would you like me to go over room types for you? Sure. Okay. And you want a suite at the Marriott Suite. Okay. So I will need the credit card and ID, the process. We will book you into your room. And since our system is collaborative, I will be able to, once I put you in the room, I verify everything, and it goes through. You swipe the ID, it verifies it's a legitimate driver's license. The camera does facial recognition matching them to the picture on the ID. The system does all the background check. Truly, sexual predator or something, it will flag them immediately. But again, so the credit card, it's checked in, and they're checking them in at the Highland Park Marriott. And so everything's done, credit card's on, room's booked. The other property gets a flag on their system at the front desk. It's the front desk staff. They get a bing. Highland Park Courtyard, checked in guest. Guest will be coming over to stay at room blank, blank, blank. Guest is blank. Credit card has been placed. Room has been reserved. And Marriott shuttle taking client over from the Highland Park Courtyard to the Marriott Courtyard. Formal working together. Before I ever did any of this, and if you want to know where I went, I used to share resources with other restaurants and Navy Pier. Yes, other restaurants at Navy Pier, Widow Newton's. It's not there. It's the Bubba Gump's. And then Riva's was there. It's still there. And then several others. And I knew all the people on the ships and that. And I did better inventory control, so I didn't run out of things. And every so often, they needed stuff on a weekend. They couldn't get it. And they would ask me. And I would loan them stuff. And most of the time, they didn't give it back. I called it my good neighbor policy. Not large amounts of stuff, but, do you have a container of pepper? Truly, yes, we have an extra, commercial-sized container of pepper. Here you go. Or do you have a container of salt? Or do you have blank? Things that most people have standard in their recipes. And there's these ingredients that tend to be more standardized that everybody uses. Doesn't matter if it's Italian, Chinese, or whatever. It's like chicken. It's universal. It goes on pizza. It goes in Chinese food. It goes in Italian food. And across the board. So I would loan them stuff as a good neighbor. But I had my stuff better than they did. And I would share ideas with them, with Widow Newton's. They got their own tap box. I help them get their own tap box. I help Riva's get their own tap box. I didn't lose sales. I had so much sales that I couldn't even deal with it. And no, I didn't have room for another tap box. And no, I didn't have any more room inside. I was really blowing everything out. The only thing we could have done is taken over like the food court area that happened to have McDonald's there. Or somehow expand out on the other side and the stairs and everything else. And we had problems. We could have done way more business, but we just had no ability. And the build on the second level, that was the Crystal Gardens. I guess we could have went into the basement, but it's on the pier, so I don't know if we could have went down. The point is, there was nowhere to send the business. Meaning, it didn't matter if I gave them business. I was blowing out business so much that I couldn't do it. And people would have a poor time on the pier, and they wouldn't come back. And I would not have a shot at them. So if I patched up Widow Newton's or Riva's or some of the other places, solved their problems, people would be happy, and they're more likely to come back to the pier. So the next time, they want a different experience. And this is how associations do it with cars. So they have a good experience and somewhat in a car. They like maybe the car they're not happy with, but they're happy with the freedom that the car provides. So they can get from place A to place B whenever they want, and so on and so forth. So they like that freedom. So they don't buy that manufacturer's car. They buy another manufacturer's car. but they like the freedom the car gives to you. So that means the industry is very invested into traffic systems and highways and traffic controls and all of that and safe driving and so on, because they want people not to be paranoid of driving a car. Because if they're paranoid and they have lots of accidents and they don't drive the car, well, then they dump the car. And you get some give back through an Uber or a bus, and you get some associated sales, but you don't get the lion's share. You get indirect. And okay, that's fine. You get indirect sales, you still get some back. We did it with Vanguard. When clients left, they tend to open up through brokerage or buy a Vanguard fund through another company. We preferred through us, but Morgan Stanley or Merrill Lynch and that, we sell lots and lots and lots through other institutions. We prefer to have the business in-house. That way we get the lion's share. But also, we understand not everybody's for us. And when people left us, if they left in a good experience, they would buy a Vanguard fund at another institution. Truly, they would recommend to their financial advisor, can I get some Vanguard in the portfolio? And so the advisor would accommodate them with purchasing some Vanguard because they had a good experience while they were there and a good experience when they left. And we found out if they had a good experience leaving, that they would more than likely come back. And they did. And so they chose Vanguard funds, or they opened up a brokerage account with us. Truly, or they bought one of our annuities. We had an annuity division. They might have purchased an annuity or opened up a brokerage account or did some other business with us that wasn't our core business. But you're still not getting the lion's share. But I had a problem where there was no more, I would burst. There was no more around it. We blew out our coolers. I couldn't accommodate food. We had to hire a prep cook and prep everything when it came in because we could only store prep food. I had to take kegs off the Crystal Garden on the weekend, and I had to store cases of beer outside the cooler under the stairwell. I mean, I had unbelievable problems. I had unbelievably more demand than I could accommodate. Truly, it was slammed from the time you started to the time we close, Monday through Sunday. Basically, it was just unbelievable. Go, go, go. We were the only place like that. And we were Charlie's Ale House, but we didn't have a big recognizable name, but people had an incredible experience. Our food was good. Our beverages were good. The service, I had a great service and bartending staff. Overall experiences were outstanding. And the word of mouth drove it grassroots, just like it did at Baja. We didn't do any advertising, but the word of mouth, people's experience, when they went back, they just bragged about what an experience they had. And we had 4-hour waits and I had truly waits at Charlie's. We had waits, big waits. They waited out in the mall and they sat at the tables in the food court waiting for stuff to open up. Yeah, they waited inside. They sat in the food court. They buy a beverage or whatever. And we had a huge wait for all of our tables in the restaurant. We were always on a wait at Charlie's. We just didn't have anywhere to go. That's it. So the whole point is I help them out and collaborating. In one way, you're competing with the other properties and you want them in-house. But if you can't accommodate them, well, you send them to one of your other properties. Yes, you're helping them out, but the same thing's going to happen when they can't accommodate. And so the company gets the business, Marriott in general. So you get it through the Marriott shares. And they go up. You don't get it through your direct bonus through the Marriott Courtyard in Highland Park. Through that bonus, that's direct. You get it indirect through the shares of the company by helping out other outlets perform better. And so sometimes you want the business for yourself, but other times you share when you can't accommodate. But I think a single female can accommodate my needs. So she doesn't need to outsource. And anyways, those situations. But again, I helped them out and I helped educate them on how to run. I came from more volume places than they did. And so I'm used to incredibly high volume. And not high volume where you kick the person down the stairs. High volume where you give the person exceptional service from the time they enter to the time they leave. High touch, high quality, high volume service. That's what Disney World's goal is in Florida and California. They do incredible volume and they do a good job. My person I work with used to run the Dolphin. He used to manage the Dolphin Hotel. Joe, he went into another business, but he worked briefly in financials with us. And I used to talk to him about Disney. He worked in Disney World. He was one of the managers of the Dolphin Hotel. And we just talk about this high touch, high quality business. And they could improve. I could teach them a shitload. But the whole point is they do a good job. I've never had a bad experience at Disney. Could it be even better? Oh, yeah. But always a good experience to great experience. Truly. But they're a high volume place, but they don't make you feel like you're just a number. They try, like we did at the Phoenician. We're an incredibly big hotel, but we act like we're a boutique. And we treat everybody like they're in a boutique hotel. We give them the small hotel feeling in a big hotel. And that takes lots of effort by the staff because you have 500 rooms and you have all kinds of catering functions that people are from in town, weddings and other things going on, that people aren't staying on property, but everybody you treat like a superstar. And so you learn how to give this high-touch, exceptional experience, making it feel like a boutique hotel. We used to say Chicago, the bar industry in Chicago, it was the biggest, smallest industry, and everybody knew your name. And so you could do this hospitality reciprocity. But we, and this is a private dialect internal, we want it to not be considered a big city. We want it to be considered a boutique, like a small town atmosphere. Cheers. And this is for Cheers, but we want it to feel like the Cheers atmosphere, where you went in and it felt like a small town, even in the big city, that you didn't get lost in the shuffle, that people were friendly and you had this great experience and service because it propelled what? The hospitality industry. Kenny worked on division. Other managers came from many other institutions, and we were about raising the industry as well, because our people, when they left us and were making another choice, we didn't have another establishment per se, and they went to other places. And so by having a great time by us, they wanted to go to another club in Chicago and another club in Chicago and another club in Chicago. And by them treating them right and having good experiences, guess what? They wanted to come back to Chicago. So even if you're a big city, you try to give it the small town atmosphere, the mom and pop atmosphere. Not lost in the shuffle, but you truly matter type of feeling. But anyways, I'll leave this here.